Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be going over my stats from 2024 and just seeing what kind of progress I made, if I went backwards in any progress, and seeing what things look like going forward, because I will go over what some goals are that I have for next year. Now, I will say I've got my little notebook here that has all the stats written down that I'm going to be reading off. I will be putting in charts and images and stuff from my spreadsheet. That way you guys have a visual of what I'm talking about. And if any of these numbers end up being wrong, blame the spreadsheet, not me. I'm not a math girl, okay? I read, I don't do math. So let's just go ahead and let's get started. So the first thing that I want to go over is my total collection, and that is at the start of 2024, my total collection was 64.1% on the TBR and 35.9% of that read. So that was what we started out with. At the end of the year, I had 67.7% on the TBR and 32.3% read. So as we notice, the numbers went down. Somehow or another, I did not read more. But that is due to the fact to a lot of changes that happened within my spreadsheet. And I sold off a bunch of books, and some of the ones that I sold off were books that I read. So once I sold them and removed them from my collection, I removed them from the spreadsheet, thusly causing the spreadsheet to recalculate. So I don't really know how to feel about it. It's a little frustrating because I wanted to see the red portion go higher, not lower. But knowing the fact that I did have a lot of unhauls, which we will go over that at some point, like I get why the number ended up being the way it was, because I was unhauling books that I read. So my spreadsheet is sitting here thinking, well, she still hasn't read all of these ones, and it's because I kept removing the ones that I did read. So that's why the number went down. I'm still not happy about it, but it's whatever. You know, I can't really do anything about it at this point because, you know, it's a new year. So whatever. At some point, I'll reach that 50% read of my personal collection. Maybe. Who knows? So moving on, let's get into the genres that I read. So the first one would be classics. I read one of those. Fantasy, I read 42. Graphic novels, 1. Historical fiction, 5. Horror, 27. Manga, 2. Mystery, 3. Romance, 11. And sci-fi, 17. So this is pretty spot on to how it was last year minus romance. Last year I read 85 romances, and this year I read 11. So as you can see, romance has taken a huge back step for me because I've learned a lot about myself when reading romance, and a lot of what's out there doesn't click with me. I also had a decrease in manga, but that's also due to the fact that some of the manga that I was reading is technically not released in America yet with like proper English translations. So I didn't exactly track those on Goodreads. I have a different place where I track most of my reading, but yeah. I only track on Goodreads what has been officially released here in the US, just because it feels wrong to count the stuff that isn't officially released because I'm reading it illegally. So yeah. Sci-fi had an increase. I had read 9 in 2023, and so in 2024 I read the 17. And then fantasy actually had a small decrease. I had read 45 in 2023 and then the 42 in 2024. But that's still the one that I read the most of, because at the end of the day, I love me some fantasy. Now for the, like, if it's an arc, backlist, new or whatever. So arc wise, I read 16 arcs in 2024. I read 19 books that were released in 2024, and most of those were arcs. So they have there is a crossover right there. 93 of the books I read were on the backlist, so they came out prior to 2024. I did not reread anything last year. The book that I normally reread every year, did not happen because of things that have come out about the author. So had no rereads last year. And that makes for a total of 128 books. So, which is, I believe that's an increase from 2023, or no, it's actually a decrease. I read 163 in 2023. So from 2023 to 2024, I had a decrease, but 2024 was, like the end of the year, I had a lot of trouble reading. Now, as for my arcs in general, I have 75 arcs in total, and that is a combination of like NetGalley, book sirens, books that authors have just sent to me, and then physical editions that I have received from publishers and a couple of indie authors. I'm sitting at 75. I managed to read 13 of them, and so the new number is at 62, but it's actually at 59 now because I, in January, have read 3 more. So I've actually taken that number down a little bit more. The goal is to really get it down, especially my NetGalley, because there's a lot of books on my NetGalley that I'm still super, super behind on. So I just want to get that all caught up. And I'm at least glad that I'm not like sitting on like 100 arcs or something, because I've seen some people sitting on hundreds and hundreds of arcs. So I am glad that I'm at least still keeping it under control that way, but I want to get it down lower, and I want to get to the point to where like if I get an arc, I read it and I review it, read it, review it kind of thing, and not have like this back pile going. But we'll see if that ever happens. So age range, that would be, I had read 81 adult books. I do not count new adult. I'm actually going to be removing that from my spreadsheets in the future because the book is either adult or it's young adult. I don't like this new adult category that people keep trying to force into creation. It just, until publishers recognize it, I don't really care about it as a category, honestly. So yeah, but then I read 7 YAs, young adults, 21 middle grade, and then 3 children's books. And the middle grade, I have to say, I think that's actually a decrease from 2023. No, it's actually an increase. That's actually a major increase. So yeah, but in 2023, I read 157 adult books. So 81 is definitely, that's definitely down. But that's okay. I have to say reading 7 young adult books is actually pretty impressive for me. I don't remember if I liked all of them though. I know there was 2 for sure that I liked. Moving on, I recently started paying attention to the gender of the author. Now, what I will say is, as you can see from the chart, like there's male at 47% or 47 authors that were male, and then 65 that were female. None are marked as non-binary or trans, and that is due to the fact that when I go and look for an author's gender, if it is not in their bio and it's not on their website, I unfortunately have like made the assumption, like if when I'm reading their bio and it says she kind of thing, like then my brain goes, okay, well, she must identify as a woman. Same for men. If it's not explicitly stated anywhere on like their author bio or their webpage that they identify as non-binary or trans, I do not make the assumption that they are. And this is a problem that I have with trying to figure out an author's gender, because like I don't want to impose, and like I never want to force anyone to out themselves either, just so that I can mark on my spreadsheet, I read a trans author. Like that's not something that I'm into at all. And so I'm not going to like do like a super long, big, deep dive into something. But if I ever do get it wrong, then obviously I do correct it. But it's still something that I'm trying to figure out how best to navigate. But I wanted to see myself, like where I was falling between the genders and everything. And from what I was able to figure out is, obviously I read more female authors, which is a big surprise for me because I prefer the way men tell stories a lot of the time. So yeah, it's not bad. Having read more females authors, like it's not bad, but I can say a lot of those probably weren't good for me, because like the romance ones, those are all by female authors, and pretty much I did not enjoy any of them. I think like maybe 3 I enjoyed out of the 11. So, you know, it's a hard thing for me to like really figure out how I want to track it without being invasive into somebody's personal life. So that's why I struggle a little bit with that one. I'm still going to be doing it on my next spreadsheet going forward, but again, if I can't automatically tell, then I default or I just say, I don't know, but I try and go off of like context clues and such in like the bios and stuff like that. But yeah, and then of course, if I'm ever wrong on an author, like I don't mind being corrected. You know, I don't ever want to misgender anybody, but it's a difficult thing to figure out how to properly track without being invasive. So anyways, let's move on. By the way, this is all over the place because I just wrote boxes of notes, so I'm sorry if this is like all over the place, guys. Let's see, my format. Let's go over my formats. Now, I break down my formats because I have paperbacks and hardcovers and all that other kind of stuff. And then I have mass markets, which I have a mass market project going on with my shelves. So for audio, I technically did 2 books on audio, strictly audio. And that means I did not have the physical, I did not have like the ebook or anything. Like I just physically listened to just the audiobook, and that was only 2 of them. It's not often I do that. I tend to do an immersive read, but I believe they were like short ones, and so I just did just the audio. Hardcover, I got through 12 hardcovers, 13 paperbacks, 39 ebooks, 7 mass markets, and so like I said, I have a mass market project going on, and then mixture for 37, and that is hardcover, audiobook, paperback, audiobook, like the immersive read ones. So I had 37 of those. So that's how I track that, and it's just so I can see like where I tend to gravitate more towards. The ebook one, I think I'm not really sure how I ended up doing more ebooks when most of the ones that I read through that I owned, I own physicals of them. So I don't really know how I ended up doing that, but I did apparently. I know it's because like a lot of my ARCs are ebooks, so that could be why. I don't know. So as for my hauls and unhauls, I hauled 116 books, but I unhauled 109. So that makes the total difference 7 books. So when you look at the total difference, like that means I only actually added 7 books to my collection. And it's because that 109 was replaced within that 116. If you guys understand how total difference works, that's how it works. Like I technically only added 7 books to the collection, which is actually not bad, because I have been trying to make sure that I be more conscious about how much I'm adding to my collection, because like I am sitting at 950 books. So do I want to hit 1,000? Sure, who doesn't? But I want to be conscious about it too. So yeah. Let's see. Let's go over the star rating. Yeah, so I'm actually only going to talk about 1-star rating, and that's the fact that I gave 8 books 5 stars. I'll give you guys like the whole list of all the star ratings that I did so you can see where it was around. But my average rating came out to about 3.1, which is which is less than last year, because my average last year was 3.3. So I apparently did not have a very good year this year, even though I had 8 5 stars. So yeah, I did read a total of 24,505 pages. That is not the 30,000 I wanted. And going forward, instead of counting how many books to read in a year, I want to focus more on page count and paying attention to how many pages I can read in a year. Because I feel like that's, I don't know, it sounds better to be like, I read this many pages, because sometimes you can read 30,000 pages across a smaller amount of books, because these fantasy books, they're like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1,000 pages. Okay, so I want to start tracking the page counts more often. The month that I read the most in was actually a tie between March and June, and that would be at 19 books. And then towards the end of the year, there was a bunch of months where I read like one book. I think like August, I read literally one book. It was either August or September. It was the month I read Ymir because I spent the entire month reading a 500-page book. That's okay though. Now, library checkouts. I had a total of 79 books checked out from the library. And of those 79, I read 27 of them and then returned 33. If you're new here, I tend to use the library as a way to combat the need for purchasing books. We're not financially like rolling in money in this household. We struggle a lot, me and my daughter. And so when I have this urge to like buy books or just buy something and I don't have the money for it, I go to the library and I pick out some books, and it gives me that same like feeling of like, ooh, new books. And it costs me nothing besides the gas to get there. And I always budget for gas, so you know, like that's why I ended up having that's why I don't care if I return books unread. It's a lot of times it's just something to fill that void without me spending money and putting myself like into debt. The source for my readings, 16 came from ARCs, one was a gift, 15 on Kindle Unlimited, which is weird because I only had Kindle Unlimited for like 3 months last year. And then library 32, and then own 41. So I actually do like the fact that I read 41 of the books that I own, because the goal is to read what I own, because a lot of it is unread, and being able, like having the number for what I own be the highest, that makes me happy. That's what I want to see. I want to see that the stuff that I own is being prioritized over things that I don't own. And that's also why I don't have Kindle Unlimited anymore. Plus I can't afford it, so. As for author, race, and identity, I use the term BIPOC. I don't know if that's the correct term we should be using anymore, but it's the term that I do see people use. So if it is the incorrect term, I would please correct me. But as we can see, I wanted to as you guys can see here, I had 17.6% were an author of a different race and 82.4% were white. Okay, I just did a yes no thing, like I did the little question thing, like, is this a BIPOC author, yes or no? That was how I did it to make it easy for creating the pie chart. And what it was I wanted to see my natural gravitation towards authors of non-white backgrounds. And again, there's a couple authors that are unaccounted for because one, I can't find like a picture of them, or two, their picture is like take my daughter for instance, okay? When you look at her, do you see a white girl? No. So there's a lot of authors that when looking at their pictures, I cannot tell what their race is. And so I just decided to not count them because I didn't want to make an assumption. Because again, this is another thing where, just like with the gender, figuring out someone's race is very invasive at times. And if you don't go about it the right way, you can be very rude about it. And I don't want to be that. So the ones where it's very obvious are the ones that I was counting, and the ones where I had more issues trying to figure out if they were not white or something, I just left them blank. It was my solution. I still don't know how, again, this is another one where I'm still trying to figure out how to properly go about tracking this. I can see that there is room for improvement, okay? But this was just my natural, like this was me not purposely reading more. This was me trying to see, like 2024 was me seeing how often I do gravitate to non-white authors. And that is because I do know that I do gravitate towards them, but I wanted to see how often and what that difference is. So like I said, there's room for improvement, and that's fine with me. Like I want to be able to improve that, and I want to be able to read voices from different cultural backgrounds and not just white authors. So that is something that I'm going to continue tracking into next year. But again, if I cannot figure it out, I'm not going to be super duper invasive and like try and spend, you know, days and weeks trying to figure it out. And so if I can't figure it out, I'll probably just not count it. So yeah, and then the spreadsheet won't count it because the way I have the spreadsheet set up, it only counts yeses or nos. So there's just some authors that are just not accounted for in this pie chart. So that's how I've done that. If anybody has any tips on how to go about tracking gender and racial background, I would love some tips or anything. If not, I'm just going to keep trying to do what I can do without being invasive into somebody's personal life. Moving on, I attempted to do the 12 by 12 again. This is like the 4th time I've tried to do this challenge. I will say I had better luck this time because I read 1 of them, DNF'd 2 of them, and didn't read 9 of them. The one I read and loved was 6 Crimson Cranes, and then I DNF'd Threadneedle and Winter's Orbit. You know, I just never got around to picking up those other ones. I don't think I'm going to be doing the 12 by 12 in 2025. It just doesn't seem to be something that sticks with me. I've tried 4 times. I don't want to try anymore. Simple as that. Moving on, let's talk about how much I spent. Let's talk about that. Well, actually, let's go over the library spending first. Altogether, of all 79 books that I checked out from the library, I saved $1,451.15. Now, for the ones that I read, the 27 that I read, I saved $496.13 because I read them from the library. And that is beautiful. That's beautiful to hear because previous years I have spent close to like $2,000 to $3,000 on books after I have calculated everything. So the fact that so much was saved using my library is very, very important to me. Like, I like that. Okay. And as for what I did personally spend, now mind you, the only things that I have on a monthly basis is I have the Goldsboro subscription for their fantasy sub, and then I have the Broken Binding, a tier 1 sub. And other than that, I only had, I think, like 2 book hauls, maybe a 3rd one because of Christmas. No, I didn't give you guys a Christmas book haul because I only got 3 books. But yeah, I didn't have a whole lot, but I still spent $1,035.94. I sold a bunch of books though. That totaled up to $765.20. So I made 765 cents. So the adjusted total of what I spent towards books is $270.74. So that's actually really, really good. And I didn't think about this, like looking at it in this way until I was doing all the final numbers on my spreadsheet. And I was like, well, I sold a bunch of books because like I sold my Jade Legacy set, and, you know, got a nice chunk of money out of that. And then there was a couple other special editions where I sold them. And usually the money that I get from my books, I end up putting back towards books. This year, most of it went to like bills and stuff. But so I was like, well, what's my adjusted total? Like if I spent this much, but I sold this much, what did I actually spend on books? So that's how I ended up getting that. And that actually, it makes me not feel as bad because like I bought books, but then I sold stuff to get like the book money back. Like you guys get it. The last thing that I want to talk about is the TBR jars. So my cooking pot, which is no longer a cooking pot. I haven't given you guys the video for the updated TBR jars. But I had pulled 16 books from there and I read 7 of them and I DNF'd 1 of them. And then add-on means if I read the first, I grabbed the second and read it. Which I think that one ended up being a DNF as well. For the wrapped TBR jars, so that's for my mass market collection. It's all wrapped and numbered and I pick a number out of the jar, that kind of thing. So I pulled 21 of those and read 2 of them and apparently DNF'd 10 of them. I don't think I updated those numbers. I don't think I updated those numbers because I read a bunch of Patricia ones that came from that. So I might actually have a different chart here with different numbers, and I might do an edit because I don't think that's correct. And then digital, it says I pulled 1, I read 1, I DNF'd 0, and then I added on 1. I didn't really pull anything from the digital TBR jar. I think I did it once just when I was like by myself. Not something I put on the channel or anything. So yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that one for the wrapped TBR because those numbers aren't right, and I'm realizing that now. So going forward, as I said earlier, I want to focus more on pages read. I want to continue trying to read the books that I own because I want to get that number down. I want to bring that down. I want to get caught up on my NetGalley stuff. I have also decided to, this is actually something that I started about mid of last year. So this will be the first year that I properly track it. But for my collection, I have split it up into 3 different types. I'll show you guys like the pie charts for them. But I'm going to track the physical, the digital, and then the total collection separately so that I can see what the numbers look like decreasing over the year. That way I can see how much of just my physical collection I've read and then how much of the digital I read, and I can see those numbers change and then how they affect the total collection. And that's just so that I can keep better track of my physical collection, because honestly, reading my physical collection is more important to me than reading my digital collection. And that's just because a lot of stuff on my digital collection is like random things I've grabbed for free. Like there's a bunch of stuff on there that I have bought with the intention of being like, yes, I do want to read this. But like I have like 85 romance books on there that I grabbed during like free romance day, and none of them have been working out. I think like, you know, like they just haven't been working, and I'm just like, oh my God, like there's some days where I'm just like, oh, I just want to delete all 85 of those. And who knows, that might happen because I just DNF'd one from that set, and now I'm working on another one which has a high probability of being DNF'd. So yeah, but that's what I mean. Like my physical collection is more important because the stuff that I buy physically are the things that I am genuinely, honestly interested in. Whereas my digital collection is kind of like a hob, like this smashed together. Yeah, I might be interested in that, I might not kind of thing. So I don't take it as seriously. So yeah, and then the total collection is the 2 combined and everything, so I can see like how I'm doing overall. But I do like the fact that I decided to split them up because I think it'll be easier to track and see progression here and there. Yeah, so those are like the main things. I am going to continue working on the wrapped mass market shelf. I'm tired of them being wrapped up. I want to try and get through a bunch more of them this year, so it'll probably end up being like a big focus again. I do want to attempt my Dragon Riders of Pern read through. I tried doing it a couple years back and then got distracted, so I do want to try and attempt that again this year. Technically up to book 5, the White Dragon. So hopefully that can happen. I think if I can just get in the groove, it will. And then I'm gonna finish reading out the rest of the Patricia McKillips I have. I have a little chart and everything for that I'm gonna be using to help track that. And that's just for like what I own, because I'm still missing some of her stuff. So, you know, that number could go up, it could go down, who knows. But then I also want to focus on series. So I will be having a video coming in the future where I talk about all of the current series that I am in the middle of, and just kind of going over it and giving you guys an insight into the series that I have started and haven't finished, because I know you guys like videos like that. So look forward to that. And I will also be bringing you guys a video about my reading journal, because this right here, this is just my note journal for like my YouTube channel and stuff, but I have a reading journal. I'm going back to using a reading journal this year. I didn't do it last year because I switched over to the spreadsheet, but then I got lazy with the spreadsheet because I had to pull out the computer, open it up, turn it on, load up Google, load up spreadsheets. And I was like, that's so much work. Whereas like, this is faster. I still have my spreadsheet, obviously, but I am going to be doing a paper trail to make it easier to track things. But I'm going to show you guys like what my reading journal looks like. So look forward to that. And yeah, this video has gotten a bit longer than I want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here, but look forward to a bunch of other stuff that is coming. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed all of these stats. Going forward for like next year, I want to try and find a better way to present all of my stats so it doesn't feel so erratic, but also that's my brain. So until next time, like, subscribe, comment, all of those great things, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.